Welcome to Dear Tay, You Got This. This podcast is a weekly motivational love letter to those who are looking for a change, are currently going through a change, and they need just a little pick-me-up. Tay is a transformation and spiritual coach and author who understands that one small habit over 1 year can create a lifetime of growth. First, we will talk about our topic, and at the end of each episode, I will do a trinity. The trinity is a brag, gratitude, and desire. If you'd like to share your wins, questions, and trinity, please call or text 330-552-7234 to be featured on the podcast. I love hearing about your success and how you are transforming. To learn more about your host, visit her Instagram page, Phoenix of Change. In 2022, I decided that I wanted to be more consistent in my business. And one of the ways that I thought to do that was to grow my TikTok following. Now, at the time, I was making videos, but I didn't feel like they were reaching the audience that I was looking for. So what did I do? I needed to have a catch. So my catch was doing sock videos. And basically what that means is I got on TikTok every morning. I uploaded a video saying, hey, these are my socks for the day, my motivational speech, and then showed everyone my socks. Surprisingly enough, I ended up having over 230 plus pair of socks. And trust me, the collection is still extensive. Now, the 230 pairs grows every single day, every single week, every single month. But I can tell you that one of the places that I ended up getting socks from was Chakra Wonders. When I went on their website, not only did I see that they had socks, but I also saw that they had artwork, mugs, hats, and even some books. It is such a great place to go to, especially if you're looking for something that is going to... What I love about Chakra Wonders is that it's an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That is chakrawonders.com. Chakra Wonders is an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That's CHAKRAWONDERS.com. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Dear Tay, You Got This. This week, I am going to be talking about my March of 2023 accomplishments and things that I recognize that happened over that month. And I'm going to be talking about the three prominent areas of self-care that I noticed within my accomplishments and the things that I noticed during the month of March. And that's going to be community, spiritual, and emotional self-care. So first, I'm going to go ahead and start off with my accomplishments and the things that I noticed in March of 2023. So in March of 2023, I was still not drinking and I was getting up still at 6 a.m. My disdain for work grew. I noticed more of what I didn't like. The relationships that I was in became more clear, especially right before and right after my trip with the girls to Vegas. I got super clear on what was happening, and I got to talk it out. And then when I came back home from Vegas, I made a lot of hard decisions, which one included breaking up with my partner of 2 years. I started my chakra alignment the week that I broke up with that partner. And then after the breakup, I realized that my emotional health was completely in shambles. I decided that my 90 days was coming up soon. And because I was doing my chakra alignment at the time, I was about 2 weeks um, into doing my chakra alignment. By the time my 90 days was up, I decided not to drink until afterwards. So that was going to be an additional 8 to 10 weeks of not drinking. So what I find very important about March of 2023 is the self-care route that I decided to take preemptively. Something that I actually had planned was that community self-care. It was hanging out with my tribe and really getting that girl time. Me and my two best friends, we all live in different places. One lives in Georgia, one lives in Miami, and the other one, and me, the other one, and I live in Ohio. So it gets really, really hard to see each other on a normal basis. But one of the things that we had started doing right when COVID started, or I should say a little bit after COVID started, was on a weekly basis, we would get on a Zoom call and we would sit and we would chit chat and we would hang out. Sometimes we would actually get on watch party and watch a movie together or watch a series together. And it really was just bringing in our worlds and understanding that we couldn't see each other, but we still wanted this friendship to work. And how are we going to do that if, if everybody lives so far apart? And it was super important for me to go on this trip to Vegas. We had been planning this trip since the year before. And we tried to plan like one trip each year. So one year we went to New Orleans. One year we went to Florida. And this year it was Vegas. And I was super stoked, ready to go because things seemed to be falling apart in my life, especially in the relationship realm. So I felt like I was losing parts of my community and I didn't know exactly what to do. And with these girls, I knew that I could just go, we could have a good time. I could take some time out, I could talk to them about what I was thinking about and just go from there. And it was great. On the first 3 days in Vegas, we had a kind of a loose itinerary. We had planned 3 different events on one event for each of those days for the weekend. So we went zip lining one day, we went to go see Magic Mike on the other day, and then we went to the shopping mall. It was like a mall, a grocery store art exhibit. And you walk in, it's a grocery store. And then in the back, which what I didn't know, is when you went back there, it was like a whole different setup. And it was like you were trying to decipher codes and try to figure out how this woman went missing. And it was really, very, very interesting. And the whole trip itself was amazing. And again, those first 3 days, I didn't think about nothing that had to do with life. It was almost like I put life on hold. Although it was still going, I just decided to put life on hold. And it was because I was hanging out with my girls. I didn't want to bring down the house with all of my sadness, and all of the decisions that I felt like I was faced with. And I remember that Sunday, I was going to be coming back on Tuesday. My flight left Tuesday evening. And on Sunday, I remember everything kind of hitting me all at once. Like, shit, I have to go home. I have to deal with life and I have to get some things together. So our trip was at the beginning of March, the very beginning of March. So right before I left, I talked to my partner and was like, hey, I would like to see you before I leave. Let's, get together, blah, blah, blah. And that night she ended up canceling on me because of whatever reason. She wasn't feeling up to it. Something happened, whatever. So I was like, okay, well, why don't we do lunch the next day since I leave the day after? And she was like, yeah, sure, we can do that. And then we had planned on when I came back, she was going to come and stay the night at my house and we were going to hang out and stuff like that after I came back. And when I came back, she ended up canceling on me again because she had some things going on. And when I talked to her, she was like, well, let me have the phone call to Columbus because I was going to Columbus to go see somebody else that I was talking to. And I was like, okay, cool. So that was that. At the beginning of this week as well, I had talked with the person that I was going to go visit and had talked to them and confirmed with them that we were going to be seeing each other that weekend. And they were like, yeah, no, you come down here, like, we'd love to see you. Yes. And we had actually planned that weeks before my trip because I had seen them while I was down there and we didn't really spend a lot of time together. And I was like, well, when I get back from Vegas, why don't I come down here and hang out with you? And he was like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. We can do that. So I was like, cool. Confirmed at the beginning of the week, confirmed the night before I left. Everything was copacetic. So I go and I'm driving to Columbus and I'm talking with my partner and we're talking and, she's talking about, life and we're talking about things and we get into the conversation about our relationship. And we didn't really get anything accomplished during this conversation. However, during that time, she had revealed to me that she had did something in December after she had gotten mad at me. And she didn't want to talk about it at that time. So I kind of just like let it go, but it was kind of in the back of my mind. Mind you, I was also just coming back from Vegas and I was just like, we haven't been able to spend time together. You have canceled on me multiple times and it's hard to pin a time down. And now you're telling me this, and now I don't know exactly how to feel about it. So I get to Columbus, everything's cool. I talk to my friend and I'm like, hey, like I'm here, whatever, whatever. He's like, yo, went out to dinner, da 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 da. I'll let you know when I'm done, whatever, whatever. And then I don't hear from him until almost 11 o'clock at night. And he sent me a text message and he was just like, hey, I fell asleep. I passed out, whatever, whatever. I said, okay, cool. I said, well, did you want me to still come by? And he was like, nah, you don't have to, this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was really just weird behavior because I've been down there late before. There had been no problems. I didn't understand what was going on. So I was just like, fine, whatever. Like, we'll meet up tomorrow, whatever. So then my other partner, who also lives in Columbus, had contacted me and was like, hey, I have this event that I'm doing. Could you come help out for a couple of hours doing XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sure, that sounds great. Like, I'll come take pictures for your event. That sounds amazing. So I went ahead and did that. I messaged my other friend and I was like, hey, like, let me know when you're available. I'm about to run an errand and it shouldn't be more than a couple of hours, whatever, whatever. So that ended up being a little bit more. Contacted him later on. And when I talked to him later, he goes, well, I'm like, yeah, so when's a good time for me to stop by? And he goes, oh, you can't ask me that. Now, what really bothered me during this whole thing, like during these few weeks that led up to all of the things that are about to unfold, was the fact that people were treating me as if my time was not valuable. And not the partner who asked me to come help him with the project. He's probably like the only person who cared about the fact that like I had things set. I wanted to, hang out with people. I wanted to hang out with them. And they were like, yeah, sure. We'll make it work. But for whatever reason, in these other two situations, I realized that it was just not going at all. It just wasn't going. So I come back and that's earlier in the evening. He's like, yeah, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, okay. So then I go over to my sister's house and she's like, hey, I'm going to go over to my boyfriend's house. Want to come? And I'm like, sure, let's do that. So I go over to her boyfriend's house and a few hours later, my friend sends me a text message and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things that I am obviously leaving out of this conversation. But up to this point, I was so sick and tired of people making plans with me and then canceling them at the last minute, whether it be the day before, whether it be the day of. Like, I was so sick and tired of it. And when I got that message, I was like, you know what? I'm good. I was so pissed. My sister, I was sitting at our sister's boyfriend's house, and we were watching. I can't remember what we were watching. We were watching some show. And after the show ended, I was like, all right, I'm out. And my sister was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going home. She was like, well, you could stay at the house if you want. I was like, no, I'm driving home. I'm going back home. Like, I just came down here and I wasted my time. So I went ahead, I did that. I drive home, and it just so happened to be daylight savings time. And I remember this because I was driving home and I was like, this is taking unusually long. And I was like looking at the clock, and like the clock had went back an hour, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I didn't even think about it until I looked at my phone. I was like, it's daylight savings time. And I was like, wonderful. So I got home, I'm tired of shit now, and I go to bed. And I wake up the next day, and I get a text message from my friend. He's like, I'm so sorry, XYZ, blah, 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 whatever it is. And I ignored him. I ignored this man for 2 months before I actually talked to him about what was going on. Now, mind you, I came back. I do all the things. I'm just like, fuck it. Let's go ahead and do stuff. And this next week comes around, and more shit decides to hit the fan. And as all of this is happening, I'm starting to realize how unhappy I am with the relationships that I have chosen to be in. And it starts to really dawn on me that it's quite possible that me drinking kept me from handling the problems right up front, because I was drinking to cover, I was drinking to mask. And whenever I had like sad emotions, or whether I was angry or something, I would just go and drink instead of actually talking out what the problem is. And even still now, like, even though I'm not drinking now, sometimes I have a hard time with coming back to the person and being like, hey, this really hurt my feelings, or I don't like the way you're doing this. Because no matter what happens, there is no right time to tell somebody that they fucked up. There is no right time to tell somebody that you're no longer talking to them because of something that they did. And I say that in the sense of, no, you don't want to tell them this stuff like after they've had to go to a funeral, or after they just broke up with their boyfriend, or like in situations where they are not at the greatest point in their emotional state. Is not the greatest time to bring up an issue that you have. However, that period does not last for that long. And you still have to go and talk to this person if you either want the relationship to continue or you've decided that it's done. Now, in this wonderful age of ghosting, a lot of people don't do that. We just kind of like let that fall to the wayside, and then we just go on about our business. And it's the same with, with anything, so I was so disgruntled. I was so disgruntled is a good word. Like, I was so mad. I was upset. I was sad, and I felt like I was being taken advantage of. And not just in my relationships. I also felt this way at my job. And I just didn't understand like what was going on, why I felt this way. And I was like, okay, something's got to give. And then the week before I broke up with my partner, more shit hit the fan. And personally, I was just confused because I was like, why is it that as soon as I stop drinking, everything wants to start to fall apart, and I can't drink to help me get over it? Like, I should say, to help me cover it up. I can't drink to help me numb those feelings. And I was just like, this is just freaking wonderful. And I sat and I thought to myself, like, what am I going to do about these particular situations? And I was like, you know what? Every single time I've been in a low place like this, I started my chakra alignment. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and start the chakra alignment next week. After all this shit happened, after all this shit hit the fan. And I was just like, yep, I'm going to just start the chakra alignment. I'm going to go from there and I'm going to see what happens. Because every year prior, for at this point, the last 3 years, every time I had started my chakra alignment, it was during like right before spring or right during the springtime began. And it was also at some like pivotal, gosh, extra syllables, pivotal point in my life. So in 2019, at the end of the year, when I started my chakra alignment, me and my ex-husband were going through some shit. And I was ready to I wanted to fix it, but also I also thought maybe I was ready to give up. Like it was a whole bunch of stuff. So I did my chakra alignment and it gave me perspective on what it was that I was looking for. In 2021, was it 21? No, it was no, yes, it was in 2021. I had been at my job for a year, and that March I had started a chakra alignment because I was fed up with my job. I was on the brink of tears. I felt burnt out. Like things just were not going great. And I was just like, I need to do something about this. So I did my chakra alignment. So it's always been at a pivotal point in my life where I was like, some change has got to happen. So that Monday before I broke up with my ex, I started my chakra alignment. And when you start your chakra alignment, you start at the root. And that's basically your foundation, your root, like what is really grounding you and how you are showing up in your life, how strong your foundation is, really lets you know where your life is. And I swear, every time I start my chakra alignment, I start right at the root, things start to fortify. For those of you who are RPG fans, things started to really fortify. And I really started to see what it was that I had to do. And it's so funny because each time this happens, it's almost like I know that I have to do these things, but as soon as I start my chakra alignment and I start meditating and going through all these things, I'm like, yeah, no, I really do need to do this because I realize how freaking ridiculous I am, like how emotionally messed up I am, how I just really am out of alignment with my life. And I started this chakra alignment, and within 2 days, I was like, yep, I have to break up with her. And that may seem, I know that you guys are listening to this and you're like, that is really nonchalant. And what I can say is it's been a year and a half, or well, a year, almost a year and a half since that has happened. And my emotions towards it now are definitely, this had to happen in order for me to see what I really wanted in my relationships. Because by this time, I hadn't really been single since my ex-husband had left. I had been in a relationship with one or more people. And so this really made me realize, okay, this is not something that you want. You don't want to continue to have this conversation with people about your time. So let's completely take out access to that. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped talking to the guy in Columbus, my friend in Columbus. I stopped talking to him for 2 months. My ex of 2 years, I stopped talking to them for a year. And it was really because I had to remove myself. And I say talking actual, literally having a conversation with this person. If I saw them out in public, which happens sometimes over the year of 2023, I'd say hi or whatever, but I would not have extensive conversations with this person. And I just realized for myself how much I really was drained emotionally from these interactions. So, of course, after the breakup, I came home, I cried, I talked to one of my best friends, and I was just like, I just want to drink. And she was like, but you know that you shouldn't drink. And I was like, I know, but I still want to drink. And she was like, I completely understand that. She was like, but you know that you'll regret it. And I was like, I know, but I just want the pain to stop. And the only way that I feel like this will happen is if I stop drinking or start drinking. And I didn't drink. I surprisingly enough, I honestly did not have a drink. And I was literally heartbroken. And I was heartbroken for months. And it's so interesting because I didn't know how to really take care of myself in this particular situation. And now that I'm thinking about it, that sounds really weird, but it's the truth. I went through this breakup and it had been, besides my marriage, which I was pretty much over by the time my ex-husband left. So there were really no tears to shed at that time. But I was in this relationship where I really cared about this person, and all of a sudden it was over. And when I told this person that I was done, they were kind of just like, all right. And that was that. Like I got my key back and that was it. And I was just like, okay. So that hurt even more. And I didn't know how to pick myself up emotionally. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. And I had I had an appointment set to talk to my therapist the Friday after I had broke up with my girlfriend. And I want to say the day before my appointment, it was canceled. Now, mind you, I was going to NET therapy. I had just started my chakra alignment, and I was only 3, 4 days in. And now my therapy appointment was canceled, and I had no idea how I was going to deal with this breakup. None whatsoever. And I wasn't prepared. I was not prepared for the emotional heartbreak that I was going to go through. And in all honesty, I don't think anybody's ever prepared for that heartbreak. Like when things started to fall apart with me and my ex-husband, like I tried because I didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't want to divorce my husband. Um, but I had been shown things that showed me that he really didn't care. And I just knew that that was not where I needed to be. And it was the same thing in this relationship. It was, I knew that something was missing, although I had asked for it and I had talked to them about it on multiple occasions, not just within the year, within the beginning of the year of 2023, but I had talked to them about it multiple times over the course of our relationship. I just realized that I wasn't getting back what I was putting into it. And that was a hard reality. And when I broke up with this person and all they said was okay, like whether they had emotions afterwards or not, I don't know the answer to that. But like to know that, and in that moment, like it didn't seem to phase them or it didn't matter or it didn't seem to matter, really hurt. Um, and I walked away from that relationship knowing that that was never going to happen again. So what I ended up doing, so my therapist appointment was canceled. Unbeknownst to me, something tragic happened in my therapist's life and she had went on leave. But I didn't know that when I called the company that I was doing the therapy through, they were kind of just like, oh yeah, we don't have any information. This person's just gone, whatever, whatever. And I was just like, okay. So here I am, not drinking. I don't have any other coping mechanisms. And I'm like, dude, seriously, like this blows. And all I wanted to do was drink. So I was like, all right, we're not going to drink. We're going to continue on with our chakra alignment and see where it goes. And it's interesting because now that I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking about, um, the self-care series and how I want you guys to create an action plan, for, when shit happens. And I want you to be able to plan your self-care. It is so that when shit goes awry, you have something to look forward to. You have something on your calendar that you're supposed to do that is supposed to make you feel better, that is supposed to raise your mental health, that is supposed to help your well-being. I remember when I was in the sexual health network marketing business, I went to a conference one year, and one of the classes that I took was it was like the power of like planning. And I'm going to say that that's what it was called. That is not what it was called, but pretty sure that it was definitely about planning your calendar to like the nth degree, like all the little things, planning your calendar. And when I say plan your self-care, this is what I mean. This woman talked about how she had something happened. She got sick, her husband got sick, somebody in her family got sick, or something had happened where she was basically grieving for a while. And one of the things that she said was that if she did not have such a structured calendar, that she probably would have been out of business. And basically what she did was she had set up her calendar so that no matter what happened around her, like no matter if life happened around her and it affected her in some way, she still had things on her calendar that still needed to be done. So she didn't put those things aside. And I thought, wow, that's amazing to be able to go through something that is so hurtful and so painful, and causes so much grief, and still be able to work your business almost robotically so that things still so that you can still show up in some way, shape, or form is amazing. And that is basically what planning your self-care routine is all about. And throughout this series, I've been talking about just do something for the week. So you guys hear this podcast on Tuesday. By Thursday or Friday, I want you to pick something out of your self-care list to do for that week. And if you haven't already picked it, pick what you're going to do next week and have it on the calendar. And the reason is so that you have something to look forward to. Surprisingly enough, I'd planned self-care within the chakra alignment and I didn't realize it. So for me, during the month of March and going forward, my self-care was very much in the spiritual realm, because what I was doing was I was meditating every day and I was journaling every day. And within these things, I was reflecting on my emotions and really trying to understand what was going on in my life and why things felt like they were falling apart. And it was really interesting because the week after the breakup, I noticed that it felt like I didn't have emotions. And I wasn't entirely sure what that meant, or how I felt about that, to be completely honest. But I didn't notice it until months later. But what I can say is during that time, so from the end of March to all the way through April, and still going to NET therapy and having somebody to talk to about what was going on, I realized that a lot of my self-care focus was spiritual. It was about lifting myself up. It was about trying to figure out a way to get out of my head and get out of my emotions, and get my life back on track. Because in all sense of the words, in March, my life felt like it got derailed. And even though it was 2 months, it felt like so long had gone by that I didn't know how I was going to get back up again. I didn't know where my emotions were going to be. I didn't want to be in relationships anymore because all they cause is heartache. All they cause is pain. I sit back and I'm like, I'm doing all of this stuff and I'm, doing this, doing that, and trying to make things work, but nothing's helping. And I'm not saying at all that my partner was completely at fault, because it takes two to tango. Okay. Um, but just like any situation, when you're in it, you can only see the things that you're putting forward. You can see the things that they're putting forward. But in my situation, it was, this isn't enough, because I felt like I was putting in so much more. And even when it came down to, going to Vegas with my girls, like that was a planned self-care activity. And I didn't even know that having community and feeling like you're a part of something was part of self-care. And literally, I honestly could not even tell you, like, I don't even think that I did any emotional self-care during the month of March. Um, I would say more so at the end of March, considering that I didn't have emotions for a couple of months. It really just it felt so hard to take care of myself emotionally. Like to to put forth emotional effort for myself was hard. But then also putting emotions forth for other people was also hard. And it was a huge thing for me. It was huge. So when you're going through your healing journey, understand this, that everything is not going to be sunshine and rainbows. Like, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows. And I tell you that because they don't tell you when you stop drinking. Like, you can go online and look at memes and things of that nature, and it'll tell you, like, if you stop drinking, your brain fog will start to clear and your body starts to work a lot differently and better. And your taste buds come back and all of these things. They tell you all of this stuff. But there isn't really a workbook that says, yeah, when you stop drinking, your brain becomes more clear and less foggy, and you start to see the things that have really been happening and things that really are screwed up. And now you have to decide whether or not you're going to fix it or throw it away. And in all situations, there's obviously a gray area, right? There's obviously a gray area. But what I'm telling you, for me, there was like this black and white. It was, I stopped drinking and I started noticing all of the changes in my life, not just relationships. I noticed that emotionally I had to change, my work had to change, the way I did my business had to change. Like, everything was in this constant state of change. And if you are the person who like thinks that in order for things to change, you have to like completely upheaval your life and start completely over. That's basically what it felt like was happening in March. I had gone these 3 months without drinking. My brain was becoming more clear. I was seeing that people were just not the people that I thought they were. And I'm like, all right, that's great. Now I'm losing those people. But that also included friends. That included not talking to family. That included coworkers. Like, no matter what it was, like, I was just like in this constant state of people suck. And it was like, how am I going to rebuild my community? How am I going to rebuild my emotions, my boundaries, like everything? Like it was a mess. It was a mess. But what I learned in March was that there are things that need to happen, even if we don't want them to, that need to happen for your growth. And in March of last year, I couldn't say that I would be saying the same things right now. Because in March, I was in a dark state of hell. And I can only say now how much going through all of that, restructuring my community, restructuring my relationships, like all of that, I can tell you how much that has helped me up to now. And it didn't feel great then. I can tell you that it did not feel great then because I was losing everything that I had held dear for so long. I was holding on to these emotional relationships that I felt were so strong and so prominent in my life. And all of a sudden I was losing them. And that made me feel super shitty. It also made me feel like a failure because how is it that you end up, you're in multiple relationships at this point, and then now you're down to one? It's basically what ended up happening. And it's like, what did I do? What could I have fixed it? Like, you go through all of these things and all of these emotions behind the breakup, behind the things that you see, but it really does open your mind to the other things that are available in your life, to the other situations, other relationships, other people in your life that are going to be better. And I can honestly say it's funny because we're only in March and all you're hearing is like all the shit that basically, like, I was like, this sucked, that sucked. And as we get into April and we go into May and then we go forward into the end of the year, you're going to see how much better things got because I stopped drinking, because I was able to clearly think of what it was that I truly wanted in my life. And I stopped everything that I didn't. I put up boundaries, which I know for a lot of people is hard. And I really, really, really started to see what I had been doing to myself, not what other people had been doing, but what I had been doing to myself, keeping myself in this place by numbing my emotions, by masking, by basically staying small. And when I stopped drinking, I began to be more aware. And I started to grow. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to feel like. I'm supposed to feel in control of my life. I'm supposed to feel empowered to move forward and make these changes and make sure that everything in my life has harmony. And when things in your life don't have harmony, when they don't have flow, they start to bump into each other and they start to crash and they start to fall apart. And that is basically what my life was doing. But it was doing it so fast that I just kind of like let it be. And now that things were kind of slowing down and I could see everything that was coming in and going out, I was like, whoa, we got to get rid of some of this. And that is really what your healing journey is about. That's really what self-care is about. It's about putting those things back up on the shelf and making sure that you're taking care of them, that you're dusting off things that are old and haven't been seen in years. or that you're throwing away old things. And that's okay. That is okay. But I think it's hard for us to realize that when we're sitting in it and we're just letting life happen. Sometimes we just got to put our foot down and start going forward and really understanding, like, hey, this got to go. This can't stay anymore. We can keep this. Let's polish this up and make it look better. And that's basically what happened in March. So what I want you to do, just like I told you earlier, what I want you to do is go ahead, look at your week and plan something for yourself in one of the self-care areas. All right. And that's either an emotional, environmental, physical, spiritual, financial, community, occupational, or intellectual. Pick something out of that category. Put it on the calendar. Start to create a plan. Start to create a self-care plan. If you know you're going to have a busy day at work next week or a busy week at work, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to need something to unwind, plan it so that it happens. And then what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and journal about it. And again, journal entry doesn't have to be that much. You can just write down like, I did this and it made me feel this way. Doesn't have to be crazy. And again, this is something that you can do in your phone too. Like put it in your notes under the activity. After you've done the activity, go into your notes and write out like how you felt about the experience. And actually, that sounds like a good idea. And I'm going to actually steal that and start using that. And then, of course, I want you to, once you've done that and you're like, yo, this made me feel so amazing. I'm so glad that I did this for myself. Share it with me. I want to be part of your wins. I want to be your cheerleader. Because when I tell you I am my own cheerleader all day, every day, I am my own cheerleader all day, every day. So before I go, I want to go ahead and talk about the Trinity. I feel like even though I've recorded a podcast, it feels like it's been so long since I've recorded a Trinity. But in real life, it's been a couple of weeks, but in real life, it hasn't really been that long. All right. So the first thing that I want to brag about, one of the things I want to brag about is that I have, well, the last time I looked, I should say, is last week. The last time I looked, I have 16 subscribers to the Dear Tay, You Got This podcast on Spotify. And I'm going to say that is freaking amazing, and I'm going to brag about it. Why? Because I think the last podcast that I started, I did quite a few episodes, and I don't think I had more than 10 subscribers, honestly. And I probably have to go back and look, in all honesty. But I honestly don't think I did. I don't think I had more than that. And the fact that I am staying with this and like, oh yeah, I got 16 followers, like 16 listeners, like that's great. I just started this podcast in June, beginning of June. So I don't expect there to be like complete leaps and bounds to this, right? Yes, the recording quality sounds great because I have a really nice microphone. But let's just be real. Like I go on complete tangents. Some of this stuff doesn't even make sense. I'm pretty sure some of you guys are listening to this like, what is going on here? But I'm excited that I have 16 followers. And those are, I would say probably half of them are active listeners, which is nice, which is super great. So if you are currently listening to this podcast and you are one of my subscribers, just go on, send me a note and be like, yes, I'm here for it. And one of the things that I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for my circle. one of the things that I've decided to do with this is like, I have friends and family who see me post up stuff on Facebook and stuff all the time. And I'm like, yo, I went to them and I was just like, hey, listen, if you can and want to listen to my podcast, please subscribe. And if you could do me a favor, if you see one of my posts come across your timeline, share it. And I said, you don't have to actually go look for it. If you see it, share it. And most of them were like, done. I got you. And you know how many people have actually done that? I have a group of people who I've only hung out with a couple of times, I've met a couple of times, who share the shit out of my shit, which is great, which I absolutely love. And I'm so excited because I really feel like people support me in what I'm doing. Like sometimes they may listen to this and they're like, Tay, you're just talking in a whole bunch of circles. But sometimes they listen and they're like, Tay, that was really good. Like you were speaking some fire. And sometimes it's unfortunate that it doesn't happen until 45 minutes into into a recording. But hey, here we are, right? But I'm so grateful for these people in my life because they truly make my world go round and they show me that they really support what I'm doing. And I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart because I know people who don't have that type of support group. I know people don't have that type of support everywhere. So I'm grateful for the support that I do have. So thank you guys so, so very much. And a desire. It's really interesting because as we talk about self-care during this podcast and we talk about community, I realized that one of my desires is to have a game night or to have like a little mini retreat, if you will, where people can come over and hang out and just be and really just soak in the positivity that is my group, that is my tribe, right? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and plan a game night. I'm going to plan a game night. And I'm going to do that because I feel like I know people who will come. I know some people who won't, and that's fine. I'll still invite them anyway. But I really desire connection. And sometimes I feel like in order for me to get that, I have to do the things. I have to plan it, and that's fine. I don't mind doing the planning. Sometimes I don't want to. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and plan a game night. And that is my desire. So just as always, if you have a Trinity to share, please send me an email at info@desirablephoenix.com, or you can text me at 330-552-7234 and leave me your Trinity so I can share it on the podcast. Because honestly, I enjoy being able to give people positivity all day, every day. So if I could share your wins, that would be wonderful. I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you for listening to Dear Tay, You Got This. If you liked this podcast episode and found it helpful, please subscribe today and share this episode with a friend. If you have any questions, comments, wins, or would like to be featured on this podcast, please call or text 330-552-7234 or email info@desirablephoenix.com. See you next week.